Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have with me two amazing guests who are here from the Career Services team. I have Shelby and Christy. Welcome, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Andrew.
Thank you for
So,
having us.
absolutely. Thank you for being here. So, I always like to kick off with the hardest question that you can imagine related to what you all do. Can you share a little bit about your background and what actually brought you all into career advising here at NMSU Global Campus?
Sure. I can start with answering that question for you. So I've always had a passion for higher education. I didn't really get into higher ed or have a position in it until 2018, working in workforce development. So I was doing non-academic. I kind of pivoted after reviewing labor market information and using that data to work with economic development councils and things like that. And I really gravitated towards more career related outcomes for students. And so, in addition to that, I'm a first generation student myself, and I didn't have a lot of that guidance that I wish that I had or wish that I was given to by somebody else at my university. So, thinking along those lines of what I struggled with, I don't want other people to struggle with that either. So, through like coaching and guidance, I feel like I'm sharing a little bit of my wisdom that I've gained. So, our students are better equipped for their own career path.
All right. And Andrew, my background includes teaching and human resources and workforce development. And so through those, I kind of discovered how much I enjoy supporting others as they explored career pathways that they were interested in and prepared kind of for their own next steps. So, what I feel like career advising provides me an opportunity to do is to guide students and collaborate with them on creating an action plan, and that plan will then support their career success.
Excellent. Another thing I want to share is you all provide your services to our entire student population, which is great. And so, one question that I have for you all, because you've worked so often with them, what are some of the common challenges that students come to you with in preparation for today's job market?
So, Andrew, I think networking can be intimidating for many students in a face to face setting. And when you move that to an online setting, it becomes even more daunting. And we saw this reflected in our student feedback surrounding our recent virtual career fair. Many of our students were unsure how to start conversations with employers, what to say when they entered a virtual booth space. And so, to help build their confidence, we offered a networking opportunity with an NMSU business professor. And this gave students a safe space and a familiar space in order to be able to practice initiating conversations before having to engage with employers.
To echo what Christy was sharing, yes, networking I think is a big challenge that our students do face, especially when they're preparing for their careers post degree. They're kind of like, what do I do now? Right. So I feel like they do face a lot of uncertainty, whether it be financial, mental, or even societal. And so in conjunction with, after they graduate and hopefully they have some networking connections under their belt, at the end of the day, they kind of want to know, is the degree worth it? And so the degree can be a launch pad to success, as we all know that, but there is that gap sometimes that can happen. And I think that's where that uncertainty lies, because no one's guaranteed a job in the same field that you earned a degree, right? So our students are taking a big risk and investing in their future. By doing that, we want to make sure that it's our part to make sure that that degree is viable and that they are set up for success. And so we want to provide these types of resources, workshops, seminars for our students. That way they are better equipped to handle job applications, like we were talking about networking opportunities, because almost every opportunity that you get is an opportunity for networking. So we just want to make sure that we do our part to make sure the students are confident after graduation.
I want to share another kudos y'all's way because you all provide amazing workshops for our students. And your workshops do a wonderful job of boosting their confidence and also providing them with real world skills. Can you share a little bit of information about how you all do just that?
Yes, I agree, Andrew. I think we do a great job at getting to the heart of these topics and sharing what not just employers are looking for, but things that we've recommended too, based on our experience and knowledge as well. A lot of us are trained in career development and have credentials too to supplement and give these resources to our students. So, yes, very much so. And in addition to that, we want to make sure that the students have tools to take some ownership in that area too and promote themselves. They're building a personal brand, for example. Um, these students will have a lot of questions, and I think that's fantastic. We want them to have tons of questions when they come to us too. And throughout our time here, we've noticed that our one-on-ones with students, our regular coaching, in conjunction in collaboration with workshops, working with their professors, working with a lot of members of our department too that we connect with to help bring those resources to those students for learning opportunities, job opportunities, etc. That really helps them out too. So it kind of ties it all together with those other offerings that we do have.
And Shelby touched on this some in her response, Andrew, but if I'm creating workshop content for students, I like to incorporate those real world examples into workshop content. It's meaningful to students, I feel like, drawing from my own personal workplace experiences. My educational philosophy is that while academic content is important, it becomes truly meaningful when it's connected to a real world workplace expectation. So in my workshops, I want to prepare students for workplace interactions.
No, excellent. And one of the things you do well as well is you give them one-on-one support, which is great. And so when you're working with students one-on-one, what are some common areas that you find that they need support in, and what do you do to help guide them?
Sure. Most of my appointments involve resume support. And since many of our students are currently working, this often includes updating an existing resume. So in some cases, what we find is that students have taken a break from the workplace, and so they need help addressing gaps in their work history, especially if they've taken time off to pursue possibly being a full-time student. So in these situations, I like to introduce resume formats that highlight their skills and experience rather than strictly focusing on a chronological work history. And this seems to be very helpful for students, and they're very responsive to that particular format. And they feel like it gives them kind of an advantage, even though they're suffering from a little bit of a difficulty with having that gap in their resume.
Yes, and exactly what Christy said. I'll just echo that. That is like our perfect example of like the most commonalities that we get is students have a pretty good work background. There may be a gap there from whatever the case may be, but our students at the heart are non-traditional students. So they're working full time, just like we are. They have kids, they have families, they're working towards a goal of either more advancement in their careers, right? Or better job opportunities that come their way. It might be a career transition entirely, right? So we kind of meet the student where they're at and work alongside them in the example of being resumes. It could be resumes, cover letters. Majority of the students I meet with too have the question of, what am I going to do with this degree? Like I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. And at the same time, I'm thinking about my salary too. Is it going to be something worth my while at the end of the day? Is it something that's going to financially sustain me, my family, etc.? And so we kind of do our part in I look at wage and salary information from state to county. Majority of our students still reside in the New Mexico area, as well as parts of Texas too. And so we look at wage and salary information. We kind of do a breakdown of types of jobs that you could have with this degree, and also not dismissing certain organizations that you may not think of. For example, of course, we work in higher education, and I had a student that was in IT and working towards their IT degree, and he was only looking at certain places of work. And I asked him, I said, have you ever looked into higher ed before? Because we always need IT professionals. And it kind of was a light bulb moment for him. And so sometimes we just have to open up different ideas to them and open up different opportunities that they may not have considered too, and just getting them outside of that box that we don't want them to be put in.
Now, this is excellent. This actually goes into my next question. So at NMSU Global, we have a high touch model when interacting with students. And so, in your opinion, why do you feel that career readiness is such an important service to offer to our students, especially adult learners and learners online?
Yeah, Andrew. So I think there might be somewhat of a misconception that career readiness is just for people entering the workforce, albeit for the first time or maybe after so many years out of the workforce. But it's vital for any part in your career or academic pathway. It's consistent preparedness for the workforce is kind of what I like to call it. You should always be upskilling, always networking, always updating your resume. Those are all pretty good career readiness examples. Staying brushed up on, I think our latest thing that people are incorporating into their resumes is the use of AI, right? So just being cognizant of those things, seeing, like I mentioned earlier, every opportunity as possibility for networking. You don't know that one connection could lead to another connection down the road, right? So it's really important to start that process early, or as early as you can. Usually within like your first semester of school, all the way to graduation, it should be consistent throughout your academic path.
So, and to add on to that, Andrew, I would just say that the feedback that we receive from employers says that employers expect graduates to be job ready. And so our team is a member of the National Association of Colleges Employers and Employers, or NACE, and their data reinforces this expectation. So according to NACE, employers are looking for candidates that have problem-solving abilities. So in fact, 88% want candidates that can solve problems. Over 80% want clear evidence that candidates can work effectively in teams. And then finally, 77% value candidates who are effective communicators. So career readiness helps students practice and demonstrate these competencies, making them much more competitive in the job market.
Oh, that's great. And so, my next question for y'all, and y'all kind of shared a little bit in some of your answers of how you support students, and you shared, that exciting story related to how you got them to think about a career in IT. Now, what I would like to hear from you is if you can share a success story that allowed students to transform, upskill, build their confidence as a result of your services.
So, Andrew, I touched on briefly resume as an area where a lot of students have difficulty and challenge. So, last semester, I was working with a student that was discouraged about their job search with no responses from employers for the applications that were sent. So, the student and I met and reviewed her resume and what might be lacking, and I offered her some options. 3 weeks later, I received an email that she received an official job offer locally with one of her preferred employers, and that she would start the position in about 5 weeks. And so I was really happy to hear this update from her. So a lot of times there are situations where students might be kind of solidified in their resume, and our meeting with them might open them to view things a little bit differently, perhaps the way a hiring manager might view a resume. And when students are open to kind of that feedback, in some instances, it can help provide a pathway for a great response such as this.
Yeah, I agree with Christy. It's really great seeing the student initially, and they may have some reservations or kind of unsure, but they know that they need our help with something. They just might not be sure what exactly. And it could be something like Christy was saying, just struggling getting a call back or getting a request for an interview. And it might be that, hey, you're not really highlighting your best attributes in this resume, and let's see how we can fix that. I mean, it could be just a few tweaks in there, right? But for me, I have some personal success stories with some students. I've had the pleasure of meeting with a couple on a regular basis, started out, being a little unsure of themselves, of their career path. Am I even able to transition from the jobs that I've had working maybe in retail to working maybe in more administrative or in education? So like, are any of my skills transferable? And the answer is yes. Communication is, I think, number one. We were talking about problem solving skills earlier, and those types of skills translate. So I think it just comes down to opening up that student to seeing that from a different lens. So in sessions that I've had with students, kind of going over that with them too. I have them sometimes just list all the skills that they can think of, and I'll tell them it doesn't matter if you think it correlates to a job or not. Tell me what it is. You're really great at knitting. You're really great at painting. Those are still skills that we can work with, or these are skills that we can see what lies deeper and lies underneath too. It could be something where they're really great at Excel spreadsheets, right? Something really minor, but could make a big difference in their career path. So the students that I met with, they started out a little reserved and things like that, but I think our consistent meetings really helped them build their confidence and they've always felt more prepared. They always felt better at the end of the sessions, because there are times where I'm asking them like, okay, we're wrapping up. What are you thinking? How are you feeling about everything? And 9 times out of 10, they feel like a lot better. They may have started out a little unsure in the start of that meeting, or kind of like, I don't know where to go. And then the more we talk, the more we meet, more things are mapped out. Their goal plans are being checked off. I've even had students still meet with me after they've graduated. So I'll have alumni that have met with me too, and they'll let me know, hey, I got a job interview, or I finally did get that job working at the local government that I wanted to get that job for. So thank you so much. And whether it's a small win starting out in like a lateral move, or it's something where they were able to get a certification, or let's just say like an internship opportunity, you still need to be interviewed for those types of things. So helping them get there is really rewarding, and just something that we really like to see too.
No, I absolutely love that. I know from when I was first getting into school, one of the things I had trouble and I was very overwhelmed is just identifying a good career path for what I wanted to do. And like a lot of people, I kind of lean towards of like what's going to make me the most money, and not necessarily things that I'm really interested in, or also identifying how, the things that I'm good at could make this a lot more, I would say, a lot better experience as I go through the program of choice. So it's really great that you're able to sit with them and talk about planning out. But then what's most important is that you're identifying current things that they like right now, and also their skills and how they align to certain career paths that they may not know about. Because once you get into the actual workplace, and then you learn about all these new occupations, at times you're like, I wish I had known about that 5 years ago. That's awesome that you're able to provide that support now. And so that goes right into my next question. So, what advice would you give to someone that's watching right now who might be somebody thinking about their future career? What is some advice that you would give them right now if they feel overwhelmed about planning that out?
Well, Andrew, I think you said it really well. Sometimes it's like, I know I'm good at these things and I kind of want to make a lot of money. So I'm just going to jump right into something kind of in survival mode, right? But at the end of the day, we also want to think about what you're passionate about, what drives you, what are your motivators and your values and things like that. And for me personally, it took me a while to also think in that mindset. So I was doing jobs kind of out of survival mode too. And I was doing things that, yes, I was good at doing, but did I love doing them? No. So I work with my students too, because this is something that I've learned is I need you to make a list. I want you to make a list of things that you know that you're really good at doing and you could do pretty much in your sleep, and then what you enjoy, and see if there are any connections there, right? Because sometimes, and as I've learned, some things that you are really good at, you might not enjoy. And so we don't want you to suffer in silence, basically. So I just encourage students to just meet with us, share their story, find out what's making them feel overwhelmed, and we can try to fill in those gaps and help where needed. Sometimes the job market can be really stressful and really frustrating, and we don't want our students to get discouraged. So I want the students to know that they're not alone when it comes to careers and their futures. We've all been there. So we're kind of part of their support system.
So, one thing I've heard our division leaders say a couple of times, Andrew, is progress, not perfection. And I think that that applies here as well. Sometimes students can feel paralyzed thinking that they need to have all the answers or have everything all figured out. And then that can lead to discouragement. So, our goal is to help students make progress toward their career goals, even if it's in small steps. And this might include meeting for a couple of sessions with us to review different aspects such as resume, cover letter, and then following that with a session for mock interviewing. So by breaking this process into more manageable steps, it helps the students have more of a sense of comfort and confidence.
Another area where you all just excel at is the type of services that you provide to students. A lot of people don't know is that you provide services to students who are just entering college for the first time, people who are maybe midway through their career journey and thinking about what's next, and also those who are about to graduate and then they're thinking about what do I need in order to land my dream job? What type of skills do I need? How can I polish my resume, etc. Can you share a little bit of information about how you support these types of learners in the different phases of their career journeys?
Sure. So we do meet with students that are in a variety of different stages. So for students that are just beginning their academic journey, they may be undecided about their career path. And we have online career assessments that help students identify their interests and potential directions. And the great thing about those, Andrew, is that they're not, it doesn't require significant time commitment. They can still get to kind of the interests that they're looking for, and it's direct, concise, to the point, which is what our adult online learners need. Students that are progressing through their degree, they might have questions about locating internships, and we can provide those resources to them. And then students that are approaching graduation may be interested in our mock interviews, and these can include scenario-based questions, which applicants often find challenging if they are unprepared for these type of questions. This practice allows the students to practice with us in a safe setting, allowing them to gain confidence and practical experience and how to handle those type of questions effectively.
Yes, Christy nailed it. That's exactly what I was going to also share too. But just to add, we want to make their career journey as flexible as possible. So I am able to work, or I have the flexibility, and I know a lot of our students are working 8 to 5, right? Possibly Monday through Friday. So their lunch hour is pretty precious to them too. So I let the students know, like, hey, I can meet you after 5 o'clock. That's not a problem. Just we'll schedule something outside of those working hours. So I work to be as flexible as possible with students. And in addition to that, like Christy said, we offer a lot of online resources that they can access 24/7, 365, right, day or night. And a couple of those resources I want to mention, name drop basically, is Big Interview and Big Resume are two great tools that kind of work together for students. They can work on some interview skills, and they can work on building multiple versions of a resume, and in conjunction with meeting us. So these are kind of like supplemental resources that we can kind of have them do as a task, or just encourage them to partake in addition to meeting with us too. And another resource too that's really good and emerging for our students to use is called Body Swaps. So our students have that opportunity as well to be in a virtual environment and look at their body language, how their tone is, and things like that. And that way they can be better prepared for those interviews when the time comes.
No, excellent. And so here's some exciting stuff that you can share with the listeners. So, what are current trends that you see happening in the workforce right now that students should be aware of as they plan for their future careers?
Yes. So the labor market right now in 2026 slash, if we want to go back a little bit, because that's kind of how the data comes to us, is like a couple of months behind. It's hard to predict sometimes, but it looks like the job market is currently flattening. Uh, and that what that tells me is making meaningful networking connections is going to be the key to secure job placement. Um, it- it's going to be about who you know sometimes. And I do predict that job seekers are going to be relying more on those personal connections, and taking up more space in those professional static settings, as well as going back to what Chrissy said earlier about our jobs, our employers, sorry, are looking for problem solving skills, good communication skills, the ability to work with other people. So these people usually call them soft skills, and I don't like that term. They're transferable skills. They're vital skills that you need in the workplace and in life too, right? So I think knowing and obtaining those skills along the way, not selling yourself short with your courses and your interactions and your volunteer work do matter. So I think that is going to be a good supplemental piece to, hey, the job market's not doing great, how can I work my end and work my angle? So I feel like that's going to be networking for sure.
So, Andrew, we've touched on resume being a source of concern for students and a reason why they would meet with us. So, if we kind of look at this question in the framing of a resume, what we see in resumes right now is that metrics and measurable outcomes are strongly emphasized right now. Employers want to see that candidates can showcase their achievements rather than simply listing of responsibilities that they have held in a position. So some examples might be improved customer satisfaction scores from 65% to 82%, or managed a team of 7 people, or reduced waste from 50% to 35%. So when I share this with students, I always emphasize that these numbers cannot be fabricated. There must be a meaningful and accurate way that that data was determined. And this is crucial because if a student is then selected for an interview, these metrics are likely going to become talking points within that interview. And the student must be able to explain how the outcomes were measured and accomplished in order to remain credible when they meet with the employer.
No, that's great. And so to start wrapping up things, you all shared tons of amazing information about everything that you do and some really good, insightful stuff as well for people to listen back and probably start doing some research themselves on. But if there's one piece of advice that you can give any NMSU Global student, that's a piece of career advice, I should say, what would it be?
So my advice would be to begin building that professional network now. Shelby touched on that some, and we've touched on it kind of in our responses, but do not wait until graduation. When applying to jobs, use your network contacts for referrals, and this creates a warm connection, which may be more effective than relying solely on cold applications that are submitted through job boards. Here's an example from a training that I attended this year. There was a networking scenario in which the speaker provided where one individual reached out to a contact of theirs on LinkedIn and said, "I think you would be a great fit for a position that our company is about to post. Can I forward your information to the hiring manager?" After the interview was scheduled, the candidate was hired before the job was ever officially posted. So that's a prime example from one of our trainings where networking got the person the job and it never even went to a posting. So LinkedIn is a great place to start in order to start building these networking connections, connecting with people that you already know, and to add individuals that share your interests, those in similar industries or colleagues from your current or your prior workplace, classmates and alumni from your school, and then to follow companies and industry leaders that you admire and to stay informed about those. And then finally, to engage actively by sharing thoughtful comments on posts and contributing relevant content to your own page. So, aside from LinkedIn, I would recommend attending our virtual career fairs at NMSU Global. Even if you're not actively looking for employment, we've offered several fairs. We're currently in the planning process of an additional fair now. And these are a great way to meet and make a good impression on recruiters in the fields that you're interested in.
Yes, I agree with Christy once again. Networking, building that professional network early, or as soon as you can, is my main advice. And kind of building your professional brand along the way. Creating a LinkedIn profile is an easy way to do that. And when I mean branding, I don't mean like you don't need to create like marketing materials, right? But having that kind of online presence there, and you may get connections that way too, or you can go ahead and work with your colleagues and build that network that way if you want to start there. Friends and family could also be part of that, but we want to have more, branch out to that professional network, right? Because 9 times out of 10, it is about who you know. And I have another success story. This person's not a student; it's a friend of mine, and she was moving to a different state and was moving over her credentials. She's a physical therapist assistant with a degree, a lot of education and certifications, and she was wondering how she could just get started. The job market was a lot of fish, and how could she stand out? And I asked her, I said, well, do you have any contacts or any networking people, in that area, or that might know somebody in that area? And lo and behold, she did. And she didn't even have to apply for a job. She just interviewed and talked with the owner of that clinic and was able to get a job within that week. So again, more support and more just backing up that networking does really matter, especially in this day and age too.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you, team, so much for sharing a lot of good information in this interview today. It's been a blast working with you, and thank you so much for everything that you do for students. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Just would like to say thank you, Andrew, for the opportunity to share with you and to be able to provide a little bit more insight into what we do in career services.
Yes, thank you for just giving us this opportunity as well, and look forward to getting more students to meet with us. We love to see them. We love working with them. It's I don't want to brag, but it's what we do best, and it's what we like to do. And so we just love working with them and appreciate, and we acknowledge their hard work and dedication, and we're here to be their coach, their cheerleader.